Jake Martinez looked at the wooden spear in his hands. He had made it that morning using only his pocket knife and a thick branch from an oak tree. The camping trip was supposed to be fun, but now they were running out of food. His friends had laughed when he said he would hunt for dinner, but Jake was serious. He had watched enough survival shows to know the basics. The fire was getting smaller. Jake pushed more wood into the flames and watched the orange light dance across his face. Lisa Wang sat across from him, trying to fix her broken phone. Connor. Blake was looking through their empty food bags again, hoping to find something they had missed. Amy Sullivan was drawing pictures in her notebook, trying to ignore how hungry she was. "This is crazy," Lisa said, putting her phone down. "We should just walk back to the car and drive to town?" "That's 20 miles, Connor said. "And it's getting dark." Jake held the spear over the fire. He had seen people do this in movies. The heat would make the wood harder and sharper. As the tip of the spear touched the flames, something strange happened. The wood began to glow with a blue light that was much brighter than the fire. "What the hell?" Amy dropped her notebook. Jake tried to pull the spear away, but it felt stuck to his hands. The blue light grew stronger, and suddenly there was a voice in his head. It was not his voice. It was old and cold and mean. "How interesting," the voice said. "A human using the old ways. How sweet." Jake's friends stared at him with wide eyes. The blue light from the spear was now so bright they could see the trees around their campsite clearly. Above them, the night sky began to change. Colors that had no names swirled across the stars like paint mixing in water. "Your kind is now on the menu, little human," the voice continued. It was not just in Jake's head anymore. Lisa, Connor, and Amy could hear it too. "We have been watching your world for a long time. Now we are hungry." Large shapes began to appear in the sky. They were ships, but not like any ships Jake had ever seen. They were huge and dark, with blue lights running along their sides like veins. The ships hung in the air without making any sound. "I am Overlord Kresh," the voice said. It now came from everywhere at once. "We are the Vorthik. We eat civilizations. Your people will feed our children. Your cities will burn. Your armies will fall." Jake stood up, still holding the glowing spear. He felt different now. The weapon was not just a piece of wood anymore. It was alive in his hands, warm and strong. Strange pictures flashed through his mind. He saw people from long ago, dressed in animal skins, fighting things that looked like nightmares. He saw wars in space, with humans using weapons that looked just like his spear. "This is not possible," Lisa whispered. "This is not real," but it was real. More ships appeared in the sky. They were moving toward the cities. Jake could see flashes of light in the distance. The aliens were already attacking. "We need to move," Jake said. His voice sounded different, older somehow. "They are coming for everyone." "Who are they?" Connor asked. "What do they want?" "They want to eat us," Amy said. She was staring at the ships with a look of pure terror. "They said we are on the menu." Jake felt the spear pulling him toward the woods. The weapon wanted him to go deeper into the forest, away from the cities and roads. It was trying to tell him something, but he could not understand what. "Follow me," he said. They grabbed their backpacks and followed Jake into the dark trees. Behind them, the sky grew brighter as more alien ships arrived. Jake could hear explosions in the distance. The war had begun, and humanity was losing. As they walked, Jake learned more about the spear. It was not just a weapon. It was a teacher. The pictures in his mind became clearer. He saw humans fighting creatures from space, but these were not modern humans. These were people from thousands of years ago, maybe tens of thousands. They had no guns or computers, but they had weapons like his spear, and they were winning. "Where are we going?" Lisa asked. "I don't know," Jake said, "but the spear knows." They walked for hours through the forest. The blue light from the spear showed them the way, but it also attracted attention. Jake could hear things moving in the trees around them. They were being followed. "Jake," Connor whispered. "There's something out there." Jake stopped walking. He could feel them now through the spear. There were 3 of them, and they were not human. They were small and fast, with too many arms and eyes that glowed in the dark. They were scouts, sent ahead to find survivors. "Get behind me," Jake said. The first alien jumped out of the trees. It was about 4 feet tall, with gray skin and long claws. It made a sound like a cat being hurt. Jake did not think, he just moved. The spear went through the alien like it was made of paper. The creature fell to the ground and did not get up. The other 2 aliens attacked at the same time. Jake spun around and the spear moved with him. It was like the weapon was fighting by itself. In seconds, both aliens were dead. "How did you do that?" Amy asked. Jake looked at the spear. The blue light was brighter now, and he could feel it. "Getting stronger. I don't know," he said. "But I think we are going to find out." They kept walking. The spear led them to a cave hidden behind a waterfall. Inside, the walls were covered with paintings. They were very old, older than anything Jake had ever seen. The paintings showed humans fighting aliens, but not the Gray Scouts. These were different aliens, bigger and more dangerous. In the center of the cave was a pool of clear water, and in the water was another spear. "There are more," Lisa said. Jake reached into the water and pulled out the second spear. As soon as he touched it, the weapon began to glow. But this time, the light was different. It was warm and golden, like sunlight. "Take it," Jake said, offering the spear to Lisa. She shook her head. "I can't fight. I don't know how." "Neither did I," Jake said. "But the spear will teach you." Lisa took the weapon. At first, nothing happened. Then slowly the spear began to glow in her hands. Her eyes went wide as the same pictures that Jake had seen filled her mind. "I can see them," she whispered. "The old ones. They are showing me how to fight." Connor and Amy found their own weapons in the cave. Connor picked up a wooden club that was as long as his arm. Amy found a bow made from some kind of white wood, with arrows that had stone tips. As they armed themselves, Jake understood what was happening. The aliens had made a mistake. They thought humans were weak because they used technology instead of fighting with their hands. But humans had not always been weak. Long ago, they had been the greatest warriors in the galaxy. They had just forgotten. "We need to find others," Jake said. "There will be more humans like us, people who remember the old ways." Outside the cave, the sky was on fire. The alien ships were destroying everything they could find. But Jake was not afraid anymore. He had a weapon that could fight back, and he had friends who would stand with him. The war was just beginning, but for the first time since the aliens arrived, Jake thought they might have a chance. The spear in his hands pulsed with warm light, and he could hear the voices of his ancestors whispering in his mind. They were telling him to fight, to never give up, to show the aliens what humans could really do. Jake Martinez had picked up an old spear to cook meat, and now he was going to use it to save the world. Jake and his friends stayed in the cave for 2 days. The weapons they had found were getting stronger. Jake's spear now glowed so bright he could use it like a flashlight. Lisa's golden spear made her feel brave and strong. Connor's club was heavier than before, but he could swing it easily. Amy's bow never missed when she practiced shooting at rocks. On the second night, they heard helicopters flying overhead. Jake went outside to look. The helicopters were on fire and falling from the sky. The alien ships were everywhere now, like metal clouds covering the stars. The aliens were winning. "We can't stay here," Jake said when he came back inside. "We need to find other people." "What if there are no other people?" Lisa asked. "What if we are the only ones left?" Jake held his spear tighter. The weapon was showing him things again. He could see other humans around the world, all holding weapons that glowed like his. There was a woman in a city holding a knife that shined like silver. There was a man in the mountains carrying a hammer that sparked with lightning. There was a boy on an island with a sword that burned like fire. "There are others," Jake said. "I can feel them. The spear shows me." They left the cave the next morning. The forest looked different now. Many trees were burned or cut down. There were holes in the ground where alien weapons had hit. The air smelled like smoke and metal dot as they walked. Jake heard a sound that made his blood freeze. It was the voice of Overlord Kresh speaking from the sky. "Humans of Earth," the alien said. "You have been fighting for 3 days. Your armies are broken. Your cities are empty. Soon our harvest will be complete. Those who surrender now will die quickly. Those who resist will suffer." Jake could hear the alien laughing. The sound was like breaking glass. "But we have noticed something interesting," Kresh continued. "Some of you have found old weapons. Some of you think you can fight us with sticks and stones. How amusing. We have destroyed civilizations that had technology you cannot imagine. Your primitive tools are toys to us." Jake gripped his spear and felt anger burning in his chest. The weapon was angry too. It wanted to fight. It wanted to show the aliens what humans could really do. They walked for hours until they reached a small town. The buildings were mostly destroyed, but they could hear voices coming from the church. Jake led his friends toward the sound. Inside the church, they found about 30 people. Most of them were hurt or scared. But 5 of them were different. They were standing at the front of the room, and they all had weapons that glowed. An old man with a white beard held a walking stick that looked like it was made of lightning. A young woman had a kitchen knife that shined like a star. A teenage boy carried a baseball bat that was covered in blue flames. A middle-aged woman held a gardening tool that hummed with power. And a little girl, maybe 8 years old, had a slingshot that glowed like the sun. "You have them too," the old man said when he saw Jake and his friends. "The weapons of the ancestors." "How do you know about them?" Jake asked. The old man smiled. "My name is George Miller. I was a history teacher before all this started. I have spent my whole life studying the old ways. When the aliens came, I was working in my garden with my grandfather's hoe. Suddenly, it began to glow, and I could see things. Ancient things. I could see the truth." "What truth?" Lisa asked. "That we are not what we think we are," George said. "Humans are not weak. We are not helpless. We are the children of warriors who once fought across the stars. We just forgot." The young woman with the knife stepped forward. "My name is Maria Santos. I was cooking dinner when the aliens attacked. This knife belonged to my great-grandmother. When I picked it up, I could suddenly fight like I had trained my whole life." The teenage boy nodded. "I'm Danny Brown. This bat was my dad's. When I held it, I could hit things that were impossible to hit. The aliens can't touch me when I swing." The middle-aged woman spoke next. "I'm Helen Rogers. This tool has been in my family for generations. It can cut through alien metal like it's butter." The little girl looked up at Jake with big eyes. "I'm Katie Jones. My slingshot can knock down the flying machines. They fall down and don't get up." Jake felt a warm feeling in his chest. They were not alone. There were others who had awakened to the old ways, but he also felt worried. If there were only a few of them, how could they fight an entire alien army? "There are more," George said, as if he could read Jake's thoughts. "The weapons are calling to each other. I can feel them waking up all over the world. Every human who touches something made by their ancestors, something made with their own hands, something real and true, can awaken." Over the next few days, more people arrived at the church. They came from the farms and the woods, from the small towns and the hidden places. They all had weapons that glowed, and they all had the same look in their eyes. They were not afraid anymore. A farmer named Paul Watson came with a pitchfork that could throw lightning. A mechanic named Steve Johnson had a wrench that could break through any alien armor. A teacher named Carol White carried a ruler that could cut through space itself. But the most surprising person was Dr. Elena Rodriguez. She was a scientist who studied old bones and artifacts. She had been working late in her lab when the aliens attacked. She grabbed an old stone knife from her collection, and it began to glow with black fire. "I have been studying these weapons my whole life," she told Jake. "I thought they were just tools made by primitive people, but they are not primitive at all. They are the most advanced weapons ever created. They are made from human will and determination. They get stronger when we need them to be stronger. Elena showed Jake her research. She had books and papers about ancient battles, about humans fighting creatures from space. The pictures were thousands of years old, but the weapons in them looked just like the ones they carried. The aliens have been coming to Earth for a long time, Elena explained. But they have always been stopped. Every time they come, humans remember who they really are. We remember that we are fighters. Jake looked around the church. There were now almost 100 people, all armed with glowing weapons. But outside, he could hear the alien ships getting closer. The harvest was continuing, and most humans were still running and hiding. We need to fight back, Jake said. We need to show the aliens that we are not food, George nodded. But we need to be smart. We are strong, but they have many ships and many soldiers. We need to find their weakness. That night, Jake had a dream. In the dream, he was standing in space, looking down at Earth. He could see the alien ships like a disease spreading across the planet. But he could also see lights. Tiny lights scattered across the world, getting brighter and brighter. The lights were humans with ancient weapons, waking up to their true nature. In the dream, he heard a voice. It was not the cold voice of Overlord Kresh. It was warm and strong, like his father's voice. We are the children of the Void Hunters. The voice said, we are the descendants of Star Warriors. We have fought in the dark between worlds. We have stood against the eternal night, and we have never lost. Jake woke up with tears in his eyes. He understood now. The aliens thought they were hunting sheep, but they had awakened wolves. And the wolves remembered how to hunt. Jake woke up to the sound of alien ships flying overhead. It had been 2 weeks since they first gathered at the church, and now they had over 300 people. The weapons were getting stronger every day, and more humans were arriving with stories of fighting back against the aliens. The news was both good and bad. The good news was that humans all over the world were waking up. The bad news was that the aliens were still winning. Most cities were empty now. The aliens had taken millions of people to their big ships in space. Jake stood outside the church and looked at his spear. It was not the same weapon he had made in the forest. Now it was longer and sharper, with blue fire running along its edge. The spear felt alive in his hands, like it was part of him. We need to attack them, said Maria Santos, the woman with the glowing knife. We can't just hide here forever. She's right, said Danny Brown, the teenager with the baseball bat. My bat is telling me where the aliens are. We can find them and hit them hard. George Miller, the old teacher, looked worried. We are still learning. The aliens have been fighting for thousands of years. We need to be careful, but Jake was tired of being careful. The spear was showing him things again. He could see alien ships landing in the big cities, taking people away in metal boxes. He could see humans running and screaming with no one to help them. He could see the aliens laughing as they destroyed everything humans had built. No more hiding, Jake said. It's time to fight. That morning, Jake laid 50 people toward the nearest alien camp. The aliens had built a base in what used to be a shopping mall. Their ships were parked outside like cars, and alien soldiers were walking around with weapons that shot green fire. Jake's group spread out around the mall. They had learned to work together over the past 2 weeks. Lisa could throw her spear like a bolt of lightning. Connor could smash through walls with his club. Amy could shoot arrows that never missed their target. The other humans had learned to use their weapons too. Remember, Jake whispered into his radio, the weapons will guide you. Don't think too much, just let them fight. The attack began at sunrise. Jake jumped through a window and landed in the middle of the alien camp. His spear cut through 3 alien soldiers before they could even see him. The blue fire burned through their armor like paper. All around him, his friends were fighting. Lisa threw her spear at an alien ship and watched it explode. Connor smashed through a wall and hit 5 aliens with one swing of his club. Amy shot arrows from the roof, and each arrow found its target. The aliens were surprised. They had been expecting humans to run away, not attack. Their weapons were powerful, but they moved slowly. The humans were fast and angry and desperate. What is happening? Jake heard Overlord Kresh's voice screaming from the alien radios. How are they destroying our forces? Jake smiled as he fought. The aliens were learning that humans were not as weak as they thought. The battle lasted for 1 hour. When it was over, the alien camp was destroyed. 50 alien soldiers were dead, and 3 of their ships were burning. The humans had won their first real victory, but the victory came with a cost. 5 humans had died in the fight, and many more were hurt. Jake looked at their faces and felt sad. These were good people who had died fighting for their world. We need to do better, he said to his friends. We need to learn faster. Over the next few days, more humans arrived at the church. They brought stories of battles from around the world. In London, a group of people with old swords had destroyed an alien command center. In Tokyo, a man with a wooden staff had knocked down 5 alien ships. In New York, a woman with a bow had saved 100 children from alien soldiers. But the most interesting story came from a group of Native Americans who had driven down from the mountains. Their leader was a man named Joe Redfeather, and he carried a tomahawk that glowed with silver light. My people never forgot the old ways, Joe said. We have been waiting for this day for many generations. Our grandfathers told us stories of the sky demons who would come to eat the world. They told us that when the demons came, the old weapons would wake up again. Joe's people had been fighting the aliens for weeks. They knew how to move through the forest without being seen. They knew how to attack and disappear before the aliens could fight back. They had destroyed dozens of alien camps and rescued thousands of people. The aliens are getting scared, Joe said. They are calling for more ships. They are asking for help from their homeworld. Jake felt his spear grow warm in his hands. The weapon was trying to tell him something. He closed his eyes and let the pictures fill his mind. He saw the alien homeworld, a dark planet covered in metal cities. He saw millions of Vortex soldiers getting ready to come to Earth. He saw ships bigger than mountains, filled with weapons that could destroy entire countries, but he also saw something else. He saw other worlds, other planets where humans lived. Most of these humans had forgotten how to fight, but some remembered. On a planet covered in ice, humans with glowing axes were fighting alien invaders. On a world of endless deserts, humans with burning swords were defending their cities. On a planet of floating islands, humans with silver spears were battling in the sky. There are others, Jake said, opening his eyes. Humans on other worlds. They are fighting too. Elena Rodriguez, the scientist, looked excited. That makes sense. If humans spread across the galaxy long ago, there would be humans on many planets. The aliens are not just attacking Earth, they are attacking all human worlds. But why now? George asked. Why are they attacking all of us at the same time? Jake felt the spear grow warmer. More pictures filled his mind. He saw the aliens' true plan. They were not just hunting for food. They were trying to stop something. They were afraid of something. They know we are waking up, Jake said. They know that humans are remembering who we really are. They are trying to kill us all before we get too strong. The spear showed him one more thing. It was a picture of Earth, but not the Earth he knew. It was Earth from long ago, when humans first learned to make weapons, but these ancient humans were not primitive. They were warriors who had fought battles across the stars. They had built ships that could travel between worlds. They had been the greatest fighters in the galaxy. We were never primitive, Jake said. We were the opposite. We were so advanced that we didn't need machines to fight. We used our will and our strength and our anger. We made weapons from our own souls. That night, Jake called all the leaders. Together, they had a big decision to make. They could keep hiding and fighting small battles, or they could try something bigger. The aliens are bringing more ships, Jake said. Soon there will be too many for us to fight. We need to hit them hard before they get stronger. What do you want to do? Maria asked. Jake pointed at the biggest alien ship in the sky. It was the size of a city, floating above what used to be Chicago. We attack their mothership. We kill. Overlord Kresh, we show them that humans are not afraid. The others looked at him like he was crazy. The mothership was protected by hundreds of smaller ships. It had weapons that could destroy anything on Earth. It seemed impossible, but Jake's spear was glowing brighter than ever. It was ready for the biggest fight of all. "The weapons will guide us," Jake said. "They have been waiting for this moment for thousands of years. They want to go home." He looked around at his friends, at all the humans who had learned to fight. They were not the same people who had hidden in the forest 2 weeks ago. They were warriors now, just like their ancestors. "Tomorrow we attack," Jake said. "Tomorrow we show the aliens what happens when you threaten the children of the void. Hunters." Jake stood on the hill looking at the alien mothership floating above Chicago. The ship was so big it blocked out the sun. It was black metal with blue lights running along its sides like veins. Smaller ships flew around it like angry bees protecting. Their hive dot behind Jake, 500 humans waited for his signal. They had come from all over the country. Farmers with glowing pitchforks, teachers with burning rulers, mechanics with lightning wrenches, and children with shining slingshots. All of them carried weapons that their ancestors would have recognized. "This is crazy," Lisa said. She stood next to Jake, holding her golden spear. "That ship could destroy this whole state." "Maybe," Jake said. "But we have something they don't understand. We have weapons made from human hearts. They get stronger when we need them most." Jake's spear was brighter than ever before. The blue fire along its edge was so hot it made the air around it shimmer. The weapon was excited. It wanted to fight. The biggest enemy it had ever faced, Joe Redfeather, walked up to Jake, the Native American. Leader's tomahawk was glowing with silver light so bright it hurt to look at. "My scouts have found a way in. There's a landing bay on the bottom of the ship. The aliens use it to bring their smaller ships inside. How do we get up there?" asked Danny Brown. His baseball bat was covered in blue flames that never went out. "We don't go up," said Elena Rodriguez. She held her stone knife like it weighed nothing, even though it looked heavier than before. "We bring them down." Elena had been studying the alien ships for weeks. She understood how they worked now. "The big ship stays in the air using gravity. Machines. If we can break those machines, the ship will fall." "Where are these machines?" Jake asked. "In the center of the ship," Elena said. "Protected by hundreds of alien soldiers and weapons that can kill anything," Jake nodded. He had expected it would not be easy. The spear was showing him pictures of the inside of the ship. Long metal hallways filled with alien soldiers. Rooms full of captured humans waiting to be eaten. And in the center, a huge room where Overlord Kresh sat on a throne made of bones. "We split into 3 groups," Jake said. "Joe, you take your people and attack the landing bay. Make noise. Make them think that's the real attack. Elena, you take a small group and find the gravity machines. I'll take the rest and go after Kresh." "What? About the smaller ships?" asked Maria Santos. Her kitchen knife was now as long as a sword and sharp enough to cut light itself. "Leave them to me," said little Katie Jones. The 8-year-old girl's slingshot was glowing like a tiny sun. Over the past few weeks, she had learned to shoot down alien ships like they were birds. "I'll keep them busy." The attack began at noon. Joe and his warriors ran toward the landing bay, shouting war cries that their grandfathers had taught them. Their weapons cut through the alien guards like they were made of paper. The aliens inside the ship heard the noise and sent soldiers to stop them. At the same time, Katie and 50 other humans with long-range weapons started shooting at the small ships flying around the mothership. Katie's slingshot stones hit alien ships and made them explode. Amy's arrows punched through alien armor like it was made of cloth. Other humans with glowing bows and throwing spears brought down ship after ship. The aliens were confused. They had never seen humans attack like this before. Their weapons were powerful, but the human weapons seemed to ignore their shields and armor. Every time an alien soldier fell, the human weapons got a little brighter, a little stronger. Jake led his group into the ship through a hole that Joe's people had made. The inside of the ship was dark and cold, with walls made of black metal. Alien soldiers came running toward them, shooting green fire from their weapons, but Jake was not. The same person who had made a spear to cook meat 3 weeks ago. He moved like lightning, his spear cutting through aliens before they could even see him. The blue fire from his weapon lit up the dark hallways like a star dot behind him. His friends fought like they had been warriors their whole lives. Lisa threw her spear, and it went through 5 aliens at once, then flew back to her hand. Connor smashed through walls with his club, surprising aliens who thought they were safe. Danny hit alien weapons with his bat and watched them break into pieces. They fought their way deeper into the ship. Every step was a battle, but the aliens could not stop them. The human weapons were too fast, too strong, too angry. They had been sleeping for thousands of years, and now they were awake and ready for war. Finally, Jake reached the center of the ship. The room was huge, with a ceiling so high he could not see the top. In the middle of the room was a throne made from the bones of different alien species. On the throne sat Overlord Kresh. Kresh was bigger than the other aliens Jake had fought. He was 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and skin like black metal. His eyes glowed red, and when he spoke, his voice sounded like breaking glass. "So," Kresh said, standing up from his throne, "the little human with the stick has come to play." How amusing. Jake raised his spear. The weapon was so bright now it lit up the entire room. "I've come to end this," Kresh laughed. "You think your primitive toy can hurt me? I have conquered 1,000 worlds. I have eaten the greatest warriors in the galaxy. You are nothing." Kresh raised his hand and green fire shot toward Jake, but Jake's spear absorbed the fire and got even brighter. Kresh shot again, this time with both hands. The spear absorbed that too. "Impossible," Kresh whispered. Jake smiled. "You don't understand. This isn't just a weapon. It's the will of every human who ever refused to give up. It's the anger of every person you've hurt. It's the love of every parent protecting their children," Jake attacked. His spear moved so fast it was just a blue blur. Kresh tried to block with his 4 arms, but the spear cut through them like they were made of air. The alien overlord fell to his knees, green blood pouring from his wounds. "What are you?" Kresh gasped. "We are the children of the Void Hunters," Jake said, remembering the words from his dream. "We are the descendants of Star Warriors. We are what remains when everything else fails." Jake drove his spear through Kresh's heart. The alien overlord screamed, and his scream echoed through every alien ship in the sky. It was a sound of fear and defeat that every Vorthek heard at the same time. Elena found the gravity machines and destroyed them with her stone knife. The huge mothership began to fall from the sky, but slowly, like a mountain made of metal. Jake felt the ship falling and ran toward the nearest exit. His friends were already there, waiting for him. They jumped from the ship just as it hit the ground. The explosion was so big it could be seen from space. All around them, the smaller alien ships were crashing too. Without their leader, the aliens didn't know what to do. Some tried to fight, but their hearts weren't in it anymore. Others just flew away as fast as they could. The humans stood in the ruins of Chicago and watched the alien ships flee into space. They had won the biggest battle of their lives, but Jake knew the war was not over. "They'll be back," he said, holding his spear tight. "They'll bring bigger ships and more soldiers." "Let them come," said Joe Redfeather. His tomahawk was still glowing with silver light. "We remember who we are now. We remember how to fight." Jake looked up at the stars and felt his spear pulse with warm light. Somewhere out there, humans on other worlds were fighting their own battles, and now they would know that Earth had not fallen. They would know that the children of the Void Hunters were awake again. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They had thought humans were weak and helpless. Instead, they had awakened. The greatest warriors the galaxy had ever known, and the war was just beginning. 6 months had passed since the great battle above Chicago. The alien ships were gone, but their broken pieces still covered the ground like metal scars on the earth. Jake stood on the roof of what used to be the White House, looking at the city below. Washington was being rebuilt, but it looked different now. Humans were not the same people they had been before the aliens came. Everyone carried a weapon now. Not guns or modern tools, but weapons they had made with their own hands. Weapons that glowed with inner light and got stronger when their owners needed them most. Jake's spear rested against his shoulder. The weapon had changed again. It was longer now, with symbols carved along its length that seemed to move and shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. The blue fire that ran along its edge was quieter now, but Jake could feel it waiting, ready to burst into flame when needed. "The president wants to see you," said Lisa. She climbed onto the roof carrying her golden spear, which had grown into something that looked more like a staff topped with a crystal that held captured sunlight. Jake nodded. The new president was a woman named Carol Williams who had been a farm worker before the invasion. Her weapon was a simple hoe that could cut through anything and make plants grow in dead soil. She had been chosen to lead not because she was a politician, but because her weapon was the strongest they had ever seen. They walked through the new Capitol building. The walls were covered with paintings that showed the great battle, but these were not ordinary paintings. They moved and changed, telling the story of how humans had remembered their true nature. Children stopped to watch the pictures, learning about the day their people stopped being afraid. President Williams was in her office, talking to people on screens from around the world. Jake could see leaders from every country. A man from Japan, holding a sword that looked like it was made of starlight. A woman from Brazil with a machete that dripped with golden fire. A boy from Australia who couldn't have been older than 15, carrying a boomerang that glowed with rainbow colors. "Jake," the president said when she saw him. "Perfect timing. We were just talking about the signals." Jake felt his spear grow warm. For the past month, humans with weapons had been receiving strange messages. Not words, but feelings and pictures sent through their weapons. The messages came from space, from other worlds where humans lived. "What are they saying now?" Jake asked. "The same thing," said the Japanese leader. "Help is coming. The old alliance is being rebuilt." Jake closed his eyes and let his spear show him what it knew. He saw ships flying between the stars, but these were not alien ships. They were human ships, built using the old ways. Ships that looked like they were grown rather than made, with hulls that pulsed with life and weapons that sang with the voices of their creators. "They're coming here," Jake said, opening his eyes. "The humans from other worlds, they're coming to Earth." The president nodded. "Our scientists think they'll arrive within the week. The question is, are we ready?" Jake looked around the room at all the leaders. Each of them carried a weapon that would have been called magic just a year ago. Each of them had learned to fight in ways that modern people had forgotten. But they were still learning, still growing stronger. "We're as ready as we can be, Jake." That night, Jake walked through the streets of the new Washington. The city was full of people working and laughing and living their lives. But it was different from before. Children played games that involved making small weapons out of sticks and stones. Adults worked together to build houses using tools that glowed with inner fire. Everyone seemed stronger, more alive, more human, somehow. Jake stopped at a memorial, built where the old Washington Monument had stood. The memorial was a simple stone circle with names carved into it. These were the names of everyone who had died fighting the aliens. Jake found the names of his friends who had fallen in the great battle and touched each one with his spear. The weapon glowed softly as if it was saying goodbye. "They would be proud?" said a voice behind him. Jake turned and saw Elena Rodriguez. The scientist now led a group that studied the old weapons and tried to understand how they worked. Her stone knife had become something that looked like a crystal dagger, sharp enough to cut through space itself. "I keep thinking about what Kresh said," Jake told her, "about how they had conquered 1,000 worlds. How many humans did they kill before we stopped them?" "Too many," Elena said. "But that's over now. The galaxy is changing. The aliens who used to hunt us are hiding. They're afraid of what we've become." Elena was right. In the months since the battle, reports had come from across the galaxy. The Vorthak had retreated to their homeworlds. Other alien species that had worked with them were sending messages asking for peace. The universe had learned that humans We're not prey animals after all? Look, Elena said, pointing at the sky. Jake looked up and saw lights moving between the stars. They were ships, dozens of them, flying in formation toward Earth. As they got closer, Jake could see that they were beautiful. Each ship was different, shaped like a work of art rather than a machine of war. The ships landed in the fields outside the city. Jake and the other leaders went to meet them. When the ship doors opened, humans stepped out. But these humans looked different from the people of Earth. Some were taller, some had different colored skin, and some had marks on their faces that glowed like tattoos made of light. The leader of the visitors was a woman who looked like she might be 100 years old, but moved like a young athlete. She carried a staff that seemed to be made of crystallized lightning. When she spoke, her voice carried the sound of distant thunder. "I am Sarah Starwalker," she said. "I speak for the Human Alliance of the Outer Rim. We have come to welcome Earth back to the family." Jake stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth. I'm Jake Martinez." Sarah looked at his spear and smiled. "The weapon of a void hunter. I had hoped we would find one here." She looked around at all the humans with their glowing weapons. "You have done well. When we felt the old weapons awakening on this world, we knew something special was happening. We thought we were alone," Jake said. "You were never alone," Sarah replied. "Humans have been fighting across the galaxy for 50,000 years. Earth was one of our first homes, but not our only one. When the Great War ended, most humans forgot who they were, but some remembered. Some kept the old ways alive." Over the next few days, Jake learned the true history of humanity. Humans had once been the greatest warriors and explorers in the galaxy. They had built an empire that stretched across 1,000,000 worlds. But the constant fighting had tired them, and many humans had chosen to live simple lives on peaceful worlds. "Like Earth, the aliens thought we were weak," Sarah explained. "They thought we had forgotten how to fight. But they were wrong. We were just sleeping. And when they threatened our children, we woke up." Sarah's people had come to help Earth rebuild and to teach them the old ways that had been lost. They brought knowledge of how to build ships that could travel between stars, how to make weapons that could protect entire worlds, and how to work together as one people spread across the galaxy, but most importantly, they brought a message. "The war is not over," Sarah said. "The Vorthek were just one threat among many. There are things in the dark between stars that hunt all life. But now that humans remember who we are, we can fight back. We can protect the galaxy like we once did." Jake looked at his spear and felt it pulse with warm light. The weapon was ready for whatever came next. So were the people of Earth? They had learned that they were not weak or helpless. They were the children of star warriors, the descendants of void hunters, and they would never forget again.